tough to follow that. I'm Greg, Auntie Flo's nephew on Uncle Ed's side. As long as I can remember, Auntie Flo has been one of my favorite humans in the world. And part of that was from a very young age. Anytime I saw her at a family function, she always asked me my opinion. I remember being 6 or 7 years old, asking my opinion about anything, art or what's going on in the world or what I'm doing. And throughout that, she cultivated that, and I think she cultivated that in probably everybody she came across, is you have individual thoughts, you have creativity, you have something to bring unique to this world. And some of my favorite memories are things that she did to cultivate that throughout my life. I remember my brother and I, we were young, and probably maybe 8 or 9, and Uncle Ed and I and my brother and Auntie Flo went out. I spent the day with them, and we went out corn shucking in the Silicon Valley, buying a bunch of corn that had to be picked just that day. Uncle Ed asked everybody, every farmer, did you pick it that day? And if it didn't, we moved on. And we filled up the trunk full of that picked corn that day, because as soon as we got home, it had to be boiled in order to maximize the sugars in the corn. So it was one of those things that just stuck in my mind, even though we've done lots of things in our lives, that really stuck out in my mind. And there was another summer when I was a young teenager learning to play tennis, and I was looking for a partner to play with, and Auntie Flo was willing to play with me. She was willing to play any chance I had that I was anywhere near, and was able to do that. Later on in life, I lived in Sacramento, and she had a show in Sacramento that got a lot of publicity. It was a combination of our Chinese background combined with the African-American experience. And the future mayor of Sacramento, Kevin Johnson, the basketball player, was there. He and I grew up playing against each other. He was so impressed that that's your auntie who did that. And I said, yeah, I'm really proud of that. I also had invited my cycling team that day to it, and 25 of my cycling team members came to that, including a male and a female who were on the team, and they had never met each other before. Anyway, they went to the show, these two. Anyway, they ended up starting dating. They eventually got married, have a bunch of kids right now. So. And I shared that with Auntie. I only remember that just recently, maybe about a year ago. And when Auntie Flo and I were talking about that show, I told her that was the legacy of that art show, was a bunch of kids. But the most profound thing that Auntie Flo and Uncle Ed did for my brother and myself is about 20 years ago, they took us on one of their trips to China. They had a delegation of artists, and I see some of the people in the room that were on that, plus a couple of other nieces. But we had never been to China before. We'd heard, I've traveled a lot of places in the world, but that trip was the most profound because it had our family history in it, and we had Uncle Ed and Auntie Flo really providing the commentary about kind of what our background was. So that was the most in-depth understanding I've had about our family history. So anyway, I want to thank Uncle Ed and Auntie Flo for all the wonderful memories you've provided throughout my lifetime. Thank you.